All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to the Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Devi Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddharthani. Sri Gaura Karana Shakti Bhakti Devi Namini. Narayana Namaskritya Naronteva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Gadirayat Nashtapraiswa Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatu Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
The devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 12. Nati prasidati tata pachito pachare aradita suragine kridivada kamai yat sarvabhuta dayaya sad alabhya yaiko nana janesha vasita suhrid antaratma Nati prasidati tato pachito pacharai aradita suraganai hridibadhakamai yatsa vabuta dayaya sad aladya yaiko nana janesha vahita suhrid antaratma nati prasidati tato pachito pachara Nati prasidati tato pachito para pacharai aradita suragana hridabhatha kamai yatsa vabuta dayaya sad alabhya yaiko nana janesha vahita suhrid antaratma. Hare Krishna. Please stand.
नाति प्रसीदति ततोपचितोपचारै आराधिता सुरगणैर्हृदि बद्धकामै यत्सर्वभूतदयाय सद् अलाभ्ययिको नानाजनेष्व अवहिता सुहृद अंतरात्मा. हरे कृष्णा.
Hare Krishna. Nati prasadati tathupachito pachariyaha aradhita shuroganai ridhi baddha kamaya yat sarva bhuta dayashayad alabhayiko nana janeshu abhita shuhid antaratma. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nati prasidati tato prachito pacharair aradhita surganair hridi kamai yat sarvabhut daya yasad alabhaya yaiko nana jane sav avihita Sruhrito Antar Atma. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nati prasidati tatha pachitopachare राराधित सुरगणे हृदबदकामे यत्सर्वभूत दयया सदलभयेको नानाजनेष्वहित सुहदन्तरात्मा. हरे कृष्ण.
माति प्रसीदति तथोपचितोपचारैर् आराधितः सुरगणैर्हृदि बद्धकामै यत्सर्वभूतदयया सद् अलभ्ययैको नानाजनेष्व अवहिता सुहृदन्तरात्मा.
Anyone else? Okay. So we do word for word now. Hare Krishna, please. Yeah. Na, never. Ati, very much. Prasidati, become satisfied. Tata, as much as. Upajita, by pompous arrangement. Upachare, with much worshipable paraphernalia. Aradita, aradita, being worshipped. Suragane, by the celestial demigods. Priti Badakamai, with hearts full of all sorts of material desires. Yat, that which. Sarva, all. Bhuta, living entities. Dayaya, to show them causeless mercy. Asad, non-devotee. Alam Yahya, not being achieved. Eka, one without a second. Nana, various. Janeshu, in living entities. Avahita, perceived. Suhrit, well-wishing friend. Anta, within. Atma, supersoul. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My Lord, you are not very much satisfied by the worship of the demigods, who arrange for your worship very pompously, with various paraphernalia, but who are full of material hankerings. You are situated in everyone's heart as the supersoul, just to show your causeless mercy, and you are the eternal well-wisher, but you are unavailable for the non-devotee. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The demigods in the celestial heavenly planets, who are appointed administrators on the material affairs, are also devotees of the Lord. But at the same time, they have desires for material opulence and sense gratification. The Lord is so kind that he awards them all sorts of material happiness, more than they can desire. But he is not satisfied with them because they are not pure devotees. The Lord does not want any one of his innumerable sons, the living entities, to remain in the material world of threefold miseries, to perpetually suffer the material pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease. The demigods in the heavenly planets and many devotees on this planet also want to remain in the material world as devotees of the Lord and take advantage of material happiness. They do so at the risk of falling down to a lower status of existence, and this makes the Lord dissatisfied with them. Pure devotees are not desirous of any material enjoyment, nor are they averse to it. They completely dovetail their desires with the desires of the Lord and perform nothing on their personal account. Arjuna is a good example. On his own sentiment, due to family affection, Arjuna did not want to fight. But finally, after hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, he agreed to fight in the interests of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord is very much satisfied with pure devotees because they do not act for sense gratification, but only in terms of the Lord's desire. As Paramatma or Supersoul, he is situated in everyone's heart, always giving everyone the chance of good counsel. Thus, everyone should take the opportunity and render transcendental loving service to him wholly and solely. The non-devotees, however, are neither like the demigods nor like the pure devotees, but are averse to the transcendental relationship with the Lord. They have revolted against the Lord and must perpetually undergo the reactions of their own activities. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 11 states, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam sateva bhajami aham. Although the Lord is equally kind to every living being, the living beings, for their own part, are able to please the Lord to either a greater or lesser extent. The demigods are called sakama devotees, or devotees with material desires in mind, while the pure devotees are called nishkama devotees because they have no desires for their personal interests. The sakama devotees are self-interested because they do not think of others, and therefore they're not able to satisfy the Lord perfectly, whereas the pure devotees take the missionary responsibility of turning non-devotees into devotees. And they are therefore able to satisfy the Lord more than the demigods. The Lord is unmindful of the non-devotees, although he is sitting within everyone's heart as well-wisher and super soul. However, he also gives them a chance to receive his mercy through his pure devotees who are engaged in missionary activities. Sometimes the Lord himself descends for missionary activities, as he did in the form of Lord Chaitanya, but mostly he sends his bona fide representatives, and thus he shows his causeless mercy towards the non-devotees. The Lord is so satisfied with his pure devotees that he wants to give them the credit for missionary success, although he could do the work personally. This is a sign of his satisfaction. With his pure nishkama devotees compared to the sakama devotees. By such transcendental activities, the Lord simultaneously becomes free from the charge of partiality and exhibits his pleasure with the devotees. Now a question arises, if the Lord is sitting in the hearts of non-devotees, why are they now moved to become devotees? It may be answered that the stubborn non-devotees who are like the barren land or alkaline field where no agricultural activities can be successful. It may be answered that the stubborn devotees are like the barren land or alkaline field where no agricultural activities can be successful. As part and parcel of the Lord, every individual living entity has a minute quantity of independence. And by misuse of this minute independence, the non-devotees commit offense after offense to both the Lord and his pure devotees engaged in missionary work. As a result of such acts, they become as barren as an alkaline field where there is no strength to produce. Oma Ginati Virandisya Gana Ganashalakaya Chakshu Umbilitam Dena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Marubhistam Sapitam Dena Bhutare Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Scha. Sri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam. Advaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanustite Devi Pranamani Hari Priya Vanchakapatarubhescha Kripa Sundhi Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaura Bhani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschathyari Shatarani. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayati Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gurachase Namaha. Anandari Namaya Vigrahaya Vimabhiri Vichapishandarai Tasmi Mahaprema Raspadaya. Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. Translation again. My Lord, you're not very much satisfied by the worship of demigods, who arrange for your worship very pompously with various paraphernalia, but who are full of material hankerings. You are situated in everyone's heart as a supersoul just to show your causeless mercy, and you are the eternal well-wisher, but you are unavailable for the non-devotee. Hare Krishna. So these are prayers. Clearly, the way the words are all described, it's a prayer by Lord Brahma, describing the nature of the Lord. Of course, the nature of the Lord is unlimited, but the devotees who are very much attracted to service to the Lord always find ways, through the intelligence given by the Super Soul, to give much praise to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in so doing also describe the qualities of the Lord. So 3 things. First, the Lord is not satisfied, not very much satisfied. Not that he's not satisfied at all, but he's not very much satisfied by worship of demigods, even though they worship the Lord pompously with various paraphernalia, but they're also full of material hankerings. So trying to keep both going at the same time. Some of us are caught up in that situation also, unfortunately. Now, the second point Lord Plum is saying is that you're situated in the heart of everyone as a super soul to show the causeless mercy. And you're the eternal well-wisher. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart. We are the conditioned souls who defied the Lord's authority and wanted to change things for us to get control. This is in the spiritual world, and that can't happen there. So we've been put in the material world, but the Lord never allowed us to just come on our own and try to make it here. He, through his causeless mercy, has come with us. In every kind of body that we take, of the 8,400,000 types of material bodies available, the Lord is there as a super soul. That is the extent, that is a very, very great indication of the Lord's love, because he could have left us totally to the mercy of his own energy, the material energy. But he is there, and as Srila Prabhupada describes, the minute independence that we have, he doesn't overstep that. He allows us to be completely independent in our own way, the way we think of things. We think it's complete. Of course, it's not, but there is some independence to make decisions. The Lord is there to advise, but not to impose. So by his causeless mercy, he is with us, conditioned souls. And he's wishing us well, as long as we are at some point willing to turn to him. And this is what Srila Prabhupada has done for us, gotten us to think correctly and turn to the Supreme Lord and put our hopes in the Supreme Lord. And for that, we get to go back to Godhead. Now, everyone has that minute independence, but the non-devotee has decided to take that independence for something for themselves. So they don't want to go by the Lord's order, even though the material energy still controls all of us, but they want to enjoy for themselves, and therefore they say either there's no God or God is dead, and they try to prove their point, and it's incredible, but somehow they want to believe that. So since the Lord doesn't force anyone, if anyone decides to shut the Lord out of his life, then the Lord will not be available for them. It's not that the Lord does not want to be available. It's just the non-devotee that decides not to live a life of God consciousness. And therefore, the Lord leaves them with the material energy only. Every now and then their lives are saved one way or another, but that's based on their karma, their own activities and the reactions that come with that. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, as the first part of this translation is, he focuses on the demigods. The demigods in the celestial heavenly planet, there's extended, compared to our lifetime, there is extended lifetime there, sometimes in the millions, sometimes in the billions of years, depending on what, sometimes even in the trillions of years, depending on what heavenly planet the person is at. So the demigods in the celestial heavens, they have been appointed as administrators of material affairs. Yes, they are also devotees of the Lord. They all know the Supreme Lord. So that's there, but they are attached to material opulence and gratifying the senses. So much so that in one incident that we all know of well, that wound up having Manigriva and Nalakuvara wind up in Arjuna trees at Nanda Maharaj's courtyard. It was from sense gratification, sexual sense gratification. In the heavenly planets, where a very, very elevated devotee of the Lord and Shaktivesh avatar, Narad Muni, was coming in the area where these two sons of Kuvera were having material so-called fun, sense gratification, with some of the women in the heavenly planets. And they did not cover themselves when Narada Muni came around. And so Narada Muni decided to give them help by the way of punishment, give them time to rethink what they had done and connect properly with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they were cursed to be in trees, in tree body, and it is still true today, as the Shastra points out to us, that if you deal in nudity, chances are very high the next life you'll be in a tree body. So they were dealing in that way. That's why, appropriately, Narada Muni gave them that type of punishment. But when they pleaded for mercy, and the devotee's heart is always soft, he said, all right, so you take birth, but not at any other place than Nanda Maharaj's courtyard, which means if you are there, the chances are very high you get to see Krishna. Or somehow associate with Krishna based on now Krishna's will, because trees are non-moving, so they can desire all they want, but they won't be able to go anywhere. That was part of the punishment. So they were in these big Arjun trees, and it's explained that Arjun trees were very, very tall. Like if you look at it, it looks like they're touching the sky. They were very tall trees and very big trees. But in Nanda Maharaj's land area. So it's desires for sense gratification and too much of it that wound them up in that situation. Manigriva and Nalakuvara. So Srila Prabhupada says they want material happiness, all sorts of material happiness. So the Lord gives it to them. But he's not satisfied because they're trying to serve him, but they are so attached to the to the material enjoyment items that are there, the opportunity for that, they're very, very much attached to it. And therefore, anyone who's attached to material sense gratification is likely to do things sometimes with so much attraction to sense gratification, like to do things that are not required for devotee life, even though the demigods are devotees. So the lesson that we learn from this is we have to be careful about sense gratification. Maharaj Rishabhadeva says in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, text 10 and 11, he says, one, we should detest sense gratification. We should detest it. Now, detest means hatred. We should not like sense gratification. Why should we hate sense gratification? Because it is in the way of getting the opportunity to be freed from this material jail that we're living in. Sense gratification is in the way of that. And if we give in to sense gratification, then we are likely to take another material body in the next life. And the material body comes with all kinds of suffering, miseries. We don't want miseries, but it is that which brings us to another body and another body and another body, lifetime after lifetime. So whatever it gives is so small, minuscule, compared to the enjoyment that is in the spiritual world. That we should understand. But because we're not living in the spiritual world now and we like to enjoy, then we want to go to sense gratification or get attracted to it. And that is the problem. But that attraction, our intelligence should kick in and tell us, but if we do that, we're going to remain in the material world. And the material world comes with miseries, birth, death, old age, disease, miseries from our own minds, miseries from other living entities, and miseries from the demigods. So it's not a good deal to resort to sense gratification. So Maharaj Rishabhadeva says we should detest it. And then in another part of the same area in Srimad Bhagavatam, again, Maharaj Rishabhadeva says, do not make any plans for sense gratification. Don't even prepare for it. But rather than do that, engage in the service of the Lord. That's where true happiness comes, internal. It's from within. When we serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And serving him means serving his devotees, serving the Guru, and also serving the deity. So here, Srila Prabhupada says, here's the Lord's mind. He doesn't want any of his sons, the living entities, to remain in the material world because it means suffering. Whatever sense gratification is there, it's not without suffering too. In my own, where I was born in Ghana, there is a proverb, I will not say it in the language itself, but I will translate it. It says, anything that is sweet in this material world, there is something bitter attached to it. Anything that's sweet. There's some bitterness attached to it. So that's interesting that I just grew up knowing this, was taught this. And because at that time when we used to, talk, the adults will, when they're speaking, then they go into a proverb to describe their point. This is the way they spoke. So then the children, we learned and discuss among ourselves and learn different proverbs. But it's interesting that they're not devotees, but they are well aware of this. That anything that especially if you try to overdo it, then the body just breaks down. Anything you describe it, overeat, you have all kinds of problems. Even though eating is enjoyable, but overdo anything. At any time also, whatever thing you're planning, you can have disturbance happen, either from the weather or from other living entities. Not that I'm taking sides to anything, which I'm not, obviously, but I'm saying that to say that there were some people that thought they were enjoying having a party and drinking and dancing, and the next time the enemies broke in and started causing all sorts of violence, killed some people, took some of them hostages. The same situation in the Middle East, one side or the other, that's been going on for years. None of them understand the aim of life, what it should be. Mm. So they hate themselves rather than hating sense gratification. Mm. So Maharaji Shabade is telling us that. So, so the demigods are attracted to sense gratification, but that also tells us one thing. Anyone who worships the demigods and winds up in the heavenly planet is also going to be attracted to sense gratification. Very, very, very likely. Even if though they may hear about Krishna there, but they will be attracted to sense gratification because the demigods are the leaders and they themselves are into sense gratification. And there's a very, very big chance for people to follow the leader. And so if the leader is doing sense gratification, most likely those that are there will also copy the same thing. Mm-hmm. And sense gratification is what keeps us in the material world. So it means that we are really extending our stay in the material world if we wind up in the heavenly planets. So no one should plan in such a way that they go to the heavenly planets, meaning no one should be doing pujas for material reasons to any of the demigods. No one. It's self-sabotage if we do that. If we want sense gratification, in other books in the Shastra, it has been said, especially Brihad Bhagavatamrita, commentary in there that says that the enjoyment in the spiritual world by the devotees of the Lord, their enjoyment, they serve the Supreme Lord, but their own enjoyment is much more intense and much, much higher than the enjoyment that any living entity can get in any part of the material world. From the highest planets in any of the universes, the enjoyment in the spiritual world on a normal basis, normally, not extraordinary, normally is bigger. The wealth that devotees have again, that's also described, the wealth that devotees have access to in the spiritual world is greater than the wealth of the wealth in one universe in the material world, not planet. Imagine owning all the wealth on the earth planet. That's nothing compared to the wealth you have access to in the spiritual world. So there's no comparison. There's no comparison. Here we're talking about some few people being billionaires, and even fewer still, handful, reached $1 trillion. But the wealth that devotees have access to in the spiritual world, you can't even put it that trillion. A trillionaire will be a pauper, a poor person compared to the access to wealth that devotees have in the spiritual world. They don't even use it so much. But to put things in another perspective, and again, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, some of us are reading now and discussing. So Gopakumara, the devotee of the Lord, gets a chance to go to, he's been given a mantra by his guru, and when he recites the mantra, then whatever wishes that he wants, arrangement is made for that wish to come true. And so he's learning about different planets, he's going to different planets in the material world. He finally winds up, because they advise him to keep going higher and higher and higher, he winds up in Vaikuntha. And the Vaikuntha planet, every one of them has a gate, or sometimes even more than one gate. Many of them have more than one gate they have to go through. So the devotees of the Lord, worshipper of Lord Narayan, came and took him to Vaikuntha planet, one Vaikuntha planet. And at the gate, they asked him to wait. And they would go in and announce to Lord Narayan who has come. And Lord Narayan gives permission and you come inside. It's like that. So Gopakumara had to wait. And the servants of the Lord Narayan, went in. Now, as he was waiting, there were others who are regular residents of the planet, or the spiritual planet, that were coming through. So they went, and Gopakumara was standing there, and he saw them. And Gopakumara thought that, and twice he made that mistake. First when I came in, he thought, oh, that must be Lord Narayan. He just looked at him and said, oh, how so well dressed he is, and so much jewelry on this person. It must be Lord Narayan. Therefore, he offered his obeisances. Hmm? Just like he would do in the presence of Lord Narayan. He offers his obeisances, and then he looks up, and this person is smiling. He's smiling at him and saying, I know you think I'm Lord Narayan. No, I'm not. I am the servant of the servants of Lord Narayan. But Gopakumara is coming the way he was dressed. He looked, I mean, for Gopakumara, he's seen a lot. But a person could be that, he has that much opulence just by the way that he's dressed and so much jewelry that he's wearing. It must be the Lord himself. I can't imagine that anyone will have that kind of jewelry. But the person smiled and said, I am only a servant. Another one came. And again, different type of dress, different type of jewelry. Again, it blew Gopakumara's mind and says, this must be Lord Narayan. So again, he offers obeisances, looks up at him, and he's smiling and saying, no, I'm not Lord Narayan. But he was dressed so he looked like, because they have the Sarupya Mukti, so they look like the Supreme Personality of God. There's so many things similar, but they're not. They're not the Supreme Personality of God. And Gopakumara thought they were Lord Narayan. Twice he made that mistake. So that goes to show you how much is there of opulence. And we're thinking that we're going to get something great here in this material world. That's the spiritual world. That's Gopakumara give a sense of what's there. Therefore, Lord Rishabhadev is telling us, don't be attached to material enjoyment. Don't plan for sense gratification. Do not do any of that. Because it's like you're going for breadcrumbs, tasting breadcrumbs, when there's a whole wedding cake available for us. So nobody says the breadcrumbs don't have a taste, but you can't compare it to that kind of cake. So that's what we have to remember. And then you say, but when are we going to get this situation happen to us too? Like tasting the wedding cake instead of the breadcrumbs. If that's what's available to us here, breadcrumbs. Well, anytime a person is in a house of correction or jail, they are there for a period of time. They are there for a period of time. So that time will come to an end. We call that death. It's just that we have to live life in such a way that when that death comes, then we get to go back to the spiritual world. Yes, the body will give us signs that death is coming by falling apart. There's old age. All kinds of pain comes at any time. Just to remind us, be ready, be ready, be ready for your next life. And Srila Prabhupada has said in another lecture that the intelligent thing that a person should think of is, what will my next life be? What will my next life be? Now, if our next life is, we're so attached to material sense gratification that we haven't gotten here, and we want more, then unfortunately, material sense gratification will keep us here along with the suffering. Once you're in the material world, you can't escape the suffering part of it. And it is said, as Raina Maharaj said the other day in a lecture, these sufferings in the material world are here so that we will feel uncomfortable staying here. People who want sense gratification, they want to ignore the fact that there is discomfort in this material life. They try to ignore it. They try to tolerate, but it doesn't go away. At some point, intelligence kicks in and says, I'm really suffering. Why do people want to come to the countries that are more wealthy? Because they want to get away from suffering or mitigate it, bring it down to some extent. And that's why they want to stay in countries that have a little more available for material life. It's just a natural way in which we think of things. So if there's so much more, several factors more of material life available in the spiritual world, then we should desire to go there. And true enough, Srila Prabhupada hasn't spent so much time talking about the opulence of the spiritual world because he's a doctor. The spiritual master is a spiritual doctor. He wants to get us to be well. Now, when we get well and we are taken out of the jail, then we'll see how fortunate we are to be back home with so much available and no reason to be in anxiety of any kind. And everyone around us is loving, and everyone is serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a way that his pastimes unfold so nicely. But he also, in one sense, serves back. He relates wonderfully to his devotees because whatever the pastime that devotees seek to see the Lord at, he would take that particular form in order to make the pastime very, very enjoyable. So he doesn't really enjoy for himself only. He also gives the opportunity for the wishes of the devotee, the pure devotee, to also come true in his pastime. It's also incorporated in how the pastime unfolds. One example, even here in a serious situation like a war, the Battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna says, I'm not going to take any arms. I'm not going to fight physically. He agreed to drive Arjuna's chariot. But Bhishma wanted, for a big war like that, for all of the generals there to see the prowess of Krishna in fighting. So for that reason, so that Krishna will be praised so much by the Kshatriyas, from a Kshatriya standpoint, it would be worth it for Krishna to fight so everybody can see how good Krishna is in fighting. Therefore, Bhishma wanted Krishna to fight. Krishna took that into consideration. So, the way the pastime unfolded, he finally took one of the wheels of the chariot and went after Bhishma to involve himself in the fighting. So Krishna made an adjustment to what his own original plans were, not to fight. So the pastimes are like that everywhere. And of course, the sweetest one, the greatest variety of pastimes that take place in Goloka Vrindavan. And Srila Prabhupada has given us a chance to go there. So how fortunate we are if we take things so seriously. So Srila Prabhupada describes the Sakama devotees. We should never be one. The devotees are who are demigods. They are those Sakama devotees interested in their own selfish sense gratification. They don't think of others, so they're not able to satisfy the Lord perfectly. But the pure devotees not only try to satisfy the Lord to the best of our ability, but they also try to get other people who are non-devotees, who are suffering and likely to take another body for more suffering. They try to convince them to turn their activities into devotional activities to satisfy the Lord. And therefore, the Lord regards these pure devotees in a better light than even demigods. And we've seen or heard so many times, not seen, but heard so many times, different ways in which some demons attack the demigods and they get into trouble. Temporarily, they are in trouble. They go to Lord Brahma, it goes to Lord Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, and the Lord gives them solutions. Sometimes he appears himself, just like in the case of Bali Maharaj, the Lord appears as Vamanadev, like that, in so many, many, many ways. I mean, other pastimes too, that the Lord appears. The Lord appears Mohini Murti to give that nectar of immortality to the demigods because the demons wanted it. So he'll do that. But what do the demigods really want? They want salvation or problems solved for them, whatever they're experiencing at the time, just so they can go back to their abodes. Why? For more sense gratification. And we wonder, but if they know about the spiritual world, how come they don't, even if that times are coming where they could be in trouble and they could die, why don't they opt that the Lord take them to the spiritual world? They want to go back to their heavenly planets and enjoy more sense gratification. That's how strong and tight and enticing sense gratification can be. That's why Lord Dushabadev used such strong words. We should detest sense gratification because the greatest enjoyment by far is in the spiritual world. Hmm? Srila Prabhupada calls us in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, first text, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 1. He calls us subordinate enjoyers. The Lord is the premier enjoyer, and we are also enjoyers, but subordinate enjoyers. While we're serving the Lord, there's great enjoyment in that, in the service. We relate to the Lord, we become extremely, extremely happy. And everyone around is very loving to us and ready to assume whatever shape from the original form to whatever shape in order to let the pastimes, allow or serve within the pastimes for it to unfold so wonderfully to serve the Supreme Lord. This is real happiness. And so hopefully we are all not hankering for sense gratification, but hankering for the day that we'll get an opportunity to go back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is Mishra Bhakti on that demigods are involved in. And that is described in Srimad Bhagavatam in 11th canto. Kama Mishra Bhakti. And Sri Prabhupada says that according to his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, Kanishta Adhikaris, third level, think that Kama Mishra Bhakti or devotional service mixed with material endeavor is the ultimate in spiritual life. We should never be about that. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj already has said, newbies, neophytes, Kanishta Adhikaris, they think like that. Kama Mishra Bhakti, devotional service, then with material endeavor. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that pure devotees are not turned off with material things. They're not. They're not averse to it. They take it and use it to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Material things were also created by the Lord. But when we take what He's created and use it in His service, then we are using that thing for proper engagement. That's what we should be about. So it's not a question of turning away things that are even on the level of category as rich, being rich and having, fine. You have that even through your karma, good karma, the results of that. Use it to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what's important. So there's also Jnana Mishra Bhakti, which is also in Canto 11, Chapter 11, Text 22. Jnana Mishra Bhakti is those who are interested in knowledge. Jiva Goswami describes that the Lord was explaining to Uddhava about Jnana Mishra Bhakti, devotional service mixed with the impure desire to enjoy transcendental knowledge. There are some people who are proud of even material knowledge because they have it more than others have. But to enjoy transcendental knowledge. Now, Srila Prabhupada says that the Lord clearly reveals that transcendental knowledge is an automatic byproduct of loving service to the Lord. When we open our hearts to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead by serving the devotees, serving Guru, and serving the deity, supporting the temples, when we do that, then the essence of transcendental knowledge will be revealed to us. In this regard, there was a pastime that happened. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, got a visitor one day who knew that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj was a scholar and had transcendental knowledge, so much of it. And he wanted to have some discussion about transcendental knowledge, transcendence with Maharaj. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj did not want to start that right away. He told this person, go to where the pujaris are. Go ask them that question. First, this person that came to visit, this visitor was taken aback, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj insisted that you go to them. So then he went. When he went and posed the question, the pujaris said, we are cleaning the Lord's paraphernalia. First, help us, join us to clean the Lord's paraphernalia. And then what you came for, we can deal with after that. To his credit, this visitor obeyed and joined the pujaris in cleaning the Lord's paraphernalia. He was doing service, devotional service. And in doing so, the answers came to him. Whatever he wanted to discuss was revealed. So, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, the impure desire to enjoy transcendental knowledge mixed with devotional service. The Lord says, this is the transcendental knowledge is an automatic byproduct of loving service to the Lord. Therefore, if we serve the Lord from our hearts, the final conclusion of transcendental knowledge will be given to us in as much detail as our minds can take. And it will make us very, very happy. And so we have to be aware that service is topmost. And so we shouldn't satisfy, or we shouldn't be involved in sacrifices in the different modes. That won't help us. Just like the demigods do. And their description of the description that's given by Lord Brahma about demigods is actually also in the modes of material nature chapter, which is chapter 17 in Bhagavad Gita. Abhidansaya tu param tam bhartam apichevayat ijyate bharata sheshta tam yagyam vidi rajasam. The Lord is explaining to Arjuna that sacrifice performed for some material end or benefit or performed ostentatiously, just like the demigods do, out of pride, is of the nature of passion. So the sacrifices, or the way the demigods, some of them are worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ostentatiously, so much pompous way of doing it. They want some material end too. They say they worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes, it's a puja, but this is the demigods. But after that, then they want their material desires satisfied by the Lord. So we should be careful not to have this mixed type of devotion. So the conclusion is anyone who worships demigods, they'll take birth in the heavenly abode of the demigod, and the demigod are Mishra Bhaktas, mixed devotees. So the chance of the demigod worshiper himself or herself to hanker for those things, just like the demigods do, they will increase. Because now you're around an area where people are like that. So again, by association, we'll play into that type of thinking too. Then that will make the devotee be stuck in the material world. Because hankering for material things means asking for another material body, another life. So second, we shouldn't shun or stay away from material energy, but use what the material energy provides to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. And that is the proper use of what is available in the material world. But the spiritual world is without doubt, hands down, the best situation that we can hope for ourselves And therefore, we take this process seriously, and we earn the mercy of the Lord through our endeavors and from the efforts. We will be getting some mercy from the Lord. That's all we are made of, just plead for mercy. As this material world just goes upside down in the thinking, people are very confused, more confused now than ever, all around the world. But the Buddha should never be confused. We should stick to Bhakti Yoga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Whatever happens to this planet, it will be purified. And we will stay with the holy name. And with the holy name, we are going to be well cared for. So there's nothing to worry about. We should do some missionary activity to help others to also come to Krishna consciousness. But for us, as long as we're staying with the process and not be attached to material or hanker for material things, only use material things to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For ourselves, take only what's necessary for this, keeping this body and soul together for now, this temporary body that we have. Then we'll be fine in the end. So we are fortunate. We have nothing really to worry about. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So thank you for allowing me to do the service this morning. And this is the time now to unmute yourself if you have questions or realizations or some comments that you want to be involved in, speak about. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna devotees, if
Hare
anybody
Krishna.
has questions or comments, please just raise your hand or unmute yourself. What I was thinking about was yesterday's class and today's class. So my Guru Maharaj is always emphasizing book distribution, and that is one place where I have been failing because I find it so difficult to approach strangers, and maybe it is fear of rejection, whatever it is, but that is one place where I have not been able to meet his expectation. But yesterday's class and today's class, I realized, one of the things Prabhupada was saying is that some people are, it's like barren land or alkaline land, and, they don't. But in the midst of that, there must be somebody who is fertile and would be willing. And our job is only to, and this is also what my Guru Maharaj says, your job is to go and offer it, because you don't know who is ready, who is not ready. And this is just something that has been on my mind since yesterday is, I should really take this on, because that was the hard work Prabhupada did. He did this so that people can be rescued. One of the things we are taught, and it took me a long time to realize, that phrase that we are always told, we are not this body, we are the soul.
Yes.
And the fact that we will never be happy here, it is a futile attempt to find happiness here. And our goal should be to get out of this cycle. That took such a long time for me to realize. Only when you realize that, you understand why this is so important, because this is the only way out.
Yeah.
The way out is to take on this process.
Very important, Mataji, very important points that you've made. Yes, and I know, Guru Maharaj was very big. Before he became spiritual master, he was known around ISKCON as one of the best book distributors. Yes, distribution of books is mercy on the part of the devotee, giving mercy by revealing true knowledge about life to everybody. We may be a stranger to you, but he is the son and daughter of a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Fortunate enough to be in a human body. Remember, the dogs and the cats are also around. You can't distribute a book to them, and they outnumber human beings. But in the few who are available, unfortunately, some of them are also, yes, so lost in the material energy, they don't want to hear anything else, or they're stuck in their religion and don't want to believe anything else. That's all there. But I learned something from one time where I wrote a very small book, a study skills book, and I had to learn how to market it. So I took a course. in sales, and they're very, very prominent sales teacher that even big companies were sending their employees to go listen to him. His name is Tom Hopkins. And he said to look at sales, because that's what we do. Book distribution is part of sales. It's transcendental of sales. As what you're doing, just count how many people you've been able to talk to. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be concerned about so-called rejection, because they can't reject you. They may even think that way, but they've rejected an opportunity for transcendence. They've actually made that mistake, whether they know that or not. So you just keep going. And yes, for salespeople, they know that the majority of people will say no, but it's a numbers game. So a majority of people will say no, but a few, and for us in Christian consciousness, few very fortunate people will take a book and turn their lives around. There are some people, one guy that now is very, very much attached to Krishna consciousness. He got a book and he read, and from that, of course, the Papa's book almost always at the end has sources of other books, that you can read. So he read a lot, and for almost 2 years, he couldn't understand properly because he was reading by himself. And then finally, he got connected to the ISKCON in Harrisburg, and this is how he met devotees. And in the same books now that he had read, he began to understand better. So again, this is somebody that gave him a book, and he started off like that. He was Christian before, and now he takes Christian consciousness very seriously. So we do, and just let the Lord do the rest part of it, the rest of it. Hare Krishna. Kishore Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Panchang Pranam. Prabhu.
Go see the Prabhupada.
Yashi Prabhupada. Prabhu, so I also wanted to talk about some book distribution because I took initiative in December and I actually distributed around 3 boxes. And I felt that I was a bit successful. Whoever I was approaching was able to, especially at workplace, I distributed so many books. And then also, yeah, and then also, it's not that I want to gain some kind of appreciation from anybody. No, I don't want to. But it's just that, Prabhu, one thing happened when I went to my kids' piano school. I was able to actually distribute 5, 6 books at the reception because there were teachers sitting. I gave it to them. They were very happy. They took it. But then what happened upstairs, I met one of the old teachers. I tried to give it to her and she was like so upset, and she said, "You cannot distribute religious book here. That's against law." And then she went downstairs and she talked to the reception, and then she talked to the director. I said, "That's fine. You can go and talk," because they were fine, and that's why they gave me, because they asked me to put the Bhagavad Gita book at the front desk so that anybody comes in, they can pick it up. So I said they allowed me. So if you want to go and talk to them, go. I was a bit nervous, but then I was just chanting Hare Krishna Mahamant, and I'm like,
Good.
Thakurji, you need to take care of it. But I was a little nervous, but I'm like, you need to take care of it. And then she went downstairs. She talked to them. Obviously, I kept around 7, 8 books there, or maybe 10 books there for distribution. And obviously, a receptionist was looking at me, and she said, when I was going back, she was smiling, and she said, "Yeah, the teacher didn't like it." So they kept. I said, "Okay, that's fine. I will take it back." So I took whatever I kept back, but I don't know how to handle this kind of situation because I remember Sita Mataji mentioned to me, when you are doing it at work, just take permission. But I didn't want to take permission for something which I am giving as a gift, Christmas gift, because gift can be anything, um, and um, and people appreciate it. I don't know if they are reading it, but but they were happy. They took it and they also Googled about it. So, but I don't know, Prabhu, how to handle, because I was a bit nervous after that incident.
Depend on the mercy of the Lord. Your intention is good. Your intention is good. Srila Prabhupada has also said one thing which you need to kind of bear in mind. He says, wherever we are as devotees, we should obey the letter of the law. So, yeah, some places you will be able to distribute without a problem. Some places you may be restricted. But there's one thing, though. If the books don't go, the prashadam should go. If you cannot give books because there's some restriction, If you fight it, we'll get a bad name. If you fight the restriction, we'll get a bad name. But I don't see anybody that turns down a snack, a piece of cake, something that you're giving to a group of people. You never get turned down. I would have difficulty distributing books at the dealership where I take my car from repairs. It's probably not going to be that easy to do.
Right.
But every Christmas time, my wife or one of my daughters will bake a cake, and I say, oh, for all your help that you gave and so much, here's your birthday, I'm sure Christmas present, and give it to them. And in the maintenance section, everybody gets one piece, and then go up to the salespeople and have another one there. They also get. Prashadam is easier. So where there's a block, consider Prashadam.
Right.
Yeah, that will help.
Yeah. So I hope I can accept this challenge next time, and this particular experience won't demotivate me to do the best work I can do for Prabhupada.
Yeah, but I have to understand some institutions would say yes to it. Some institutions, when they say no, then maybe the next way to do it is go after them with Prashadam, because that they're most likely not going to turn that down.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Bless you, Prabhupada. Any other comments or questions? This is quite interesting. Hare Krishna. Accept my
Nice to hear from you. My humble obeisances to you. I always have this question. You talked about the Gokumara story.
Yes.
Is it mentioned in any of the cantos of the Bhagavatam?
Gopakumara story?
Yeah.
I haven't seen any place that Gopakumara is mentioned. I don't know. Maybe I'm the wrong person to ask this if somebody else knows the Gopakumara is mentioned there. But it's the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is a description of Srimad Bhagavatam in a much simpler form, but also in very interesting pastime form by Maharaj Pariksit. Now he's the one talking. He was talking to his mother, Uttara.
Yeah.
Yeah. After Sukadeva Goswami spoke to him, and Takshaka, the snake bird, had not come yet. That time between the end of the Bhagavatam conversation and the time he was actually going to leave his body, his mother, Parikshit's mother, came to him and said, can you summarize what Sukadeva Goswami has spoken to you? And Maharaj Pariksit elected to put it in this particular form because he knew the pastime involving Gopakumara, and so many things that had been told to him by Shukadeva Goswami were important transcendental points that could be related in the story form by Maharaj Pariksit, mentioning Gopakumara's transcendental adventures. So he talked about it. It is.
It's
So just like any book, there's some. Yeah, go ahead, Mati. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I sometimes join. I find it very interesting. Story about
Gopakumara. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. It's a set of 3 volumes. Gopi Paranadhana Das Prabhu, the Srila Prabhupada disciple, that put it together. He knows Sanskrit and he translated. And there are some very, very important. He's done some pretty decent research too. That in his commentary, sometimes he puts out, and this is how we get to know. Sometimes it's not even in the text, but in his commentary, that he has studied from other books. Once you study Sanskrit, then all these books are available. Literally, if you just get them, you know what they're saying because you understand Sanskrit. So that's what he did. Yeah, we have Avatamrita, and then the other one is Garga Samhita. Dhanabhya Maharaj translated that one. And that's 17 books. And it's also pastimes to the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bless you. Any other comments? Okay. We are at the top of the hour, so thank you, dear Buddhists, for coming on. And it's always nice to have a conversation. It's like a family member talking to family members. Personally, this is how I feel with the Buddhists in Philly. Hare Krishna. So have a wonderful, wonderful. Are there any announcements? for this afternoon?
No, just the Sunday feast program.
Sunday feast,
4:30.
4:30 usually. Okay. Hare Krishna. Was
Hare
anybody there for the kirtan yesterday?
Oh, yes, Prabhu. It was wonderful. And I got to hear your daughters. Oh my God, they are so wonderful, Prabhu. Amazing, amazing Kirtanist. Loved it, Prabhu.
Krishna's mercy, practically every weekend they're gone. They have two good cars, so they just here, there, and everywhere. Yeah, for kirtan. They love his holy name.
It
We're
was an
fortunate.
amazing day. Amazing day, Prabhu. Amazing day.
Yeah. The holy name is what's going to save this world from all the confusion materially that's going on. It's the holy name. Hare Krishna. Thank you. All right. Vanchaka Patru Vishya Kripa Sindhu Titanam Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavibhyo
Vaishnavibhyo
namo
Namo
namaha.
Namaha.
Thank you very much,
Prabhupada
Prabhu.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hare
thank you, thank you very much.